Cada 42 segundos alguien es arrestado por la marihuana.
Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. Welcome to CMMNJ TV. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. I'm here in the Princeton Community TV studios today with Vanessa Maria, the newest board member of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. Vanessa, I'd like to publicly welcome you to Princeton Community TV and publicly welcome you to the Board of Directors of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. Vanessa, you're a media and communications specialist. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means and what you're doing in your life?
Well, for the last 15 years or so, I've been working in media production. I believe media can be used as a tool for social change. And because the mainstream media leaves a lot of information out there that people aren't getting access to, I started getting involved in teaching people how to make their own media. So specifically, I'm involved in the field of community media. I also work with access television stations and community radio stations. And right now, I'm working in Philly to start a new community radio station on 106.5 FM. A few years ago, I was part of a movement to pass the Local Community Radio Act, and this forced the FCC to open up more channels for non-commercial radio stations all over the country, including in all the largest cities. So I spent several years traveling around the country, getting people to start community radio stations and helping them through the process of navigating the FCC. And so now in Philadelphia, there will be 3 new community radio stations that will be starting within the next year. And that will give people an opportunity to talk about different social issues that affect them, and also, promote their local art and culture. Again, something that we don't see reflected in mainstream media. So I definitely spend a lot of time, aside from that, working with different social movements, activists, and organizers on messaging and how they can use media to reach people with their important messages.
Boy, that's terrific, Vanessa. Absolutely terrific what you're doing. And you're very well educated. You have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And did I see you're working on your PhD?
Yes, I was a Roy H. Park PhD fellow at the University of North Carolina, where I was studying social movements and the use of radical media.
Excellent. Now, I hear an awful lot about podcasts, and I understand you're involved with some podcasts, and CMMNJ uses podcasts at its Thursday demonstrations at the State House. What's the difference between a podcast and a radio station?
So a podcast is an episodic audio program that's available through the internet and usually distributed through a variety of different means. So when people say they're doing a podcast, they're recording an audio program, they're uploading it onto the internet, and they're either sharing it via social media or through an RSS feed, which is kind of like a subscription service, which goes out to a big email. A radio station typically operates on the electromagnetic spectrum, and they broadcast on FM or AM. And radio station typically has 24/7 programming, usually done live in a studio. And so really the biggest difference is the amount of programming and the way that it's distributed.
Are you also reaching out to the Hispanic community for this social change via radio?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we're limited to just a couple media that offer information in Spanish. And really there's a lot left to be desired. So we definitely are interested in not just reaching out to the Hispanic community, but the Asian American communities, Russian communities. I mean, the Philadelphia metropolitan area and also the state of New Jersey, are very diverse. There's large immigrant populations. And right now there's no other platform for people to share their culture and their art and also, talk about issues that are important to them. So it would be great for us to have lots of hours of multilingual programming, but especially the Hispanic population because it's growing, and especially in Philadelphia because there is a large Puerto Rican population, and we're seeing now with the economic downturn in Puerto Rico that there's a lot more people from Puerto Rico moving to the Philadelphia, South Jersey area, that don't speak English.
Yeah. But one of the things you're most noted for, I think, is your street activism. That really is, you do a terrific job, I must say, Vanessa, with the street activism that I've been involved with. You've had numerous demonstrations that I'd like to talk about in some detail, and the cooperation that you get from both the city officials and the police who are involved in these cities. For example, the march in Camden was a great march and a rally there, and let's see, when was that? That was in May, just this past May. Tell us about that. I was very impressed with that march in Camden.
Yeah, we decided to go to Camden because we know that the medical marijuana program in New Jersey is not really accessible to people that live below the poverty line, and because there are so many people in Camden that suffer chronic health issues, we know that there's a disparity, and we wanted to draw attention to that fact. A lot of people, they cannot afford over $500 for an ounce of marijuana. They can't even afford their electric bill or healthy foods. And I worked in Camden for several years at a Hispanic social services agency, so I really got to know what a lot of the problems were in the community. And one of the other things is that we know that there are a lack of resources when it comes to policing the much larger issues that people really care about. A lot of the gang activity, a lot of shootings, stabbings, and quality of life issues like abandoned homes and abandoned cars. When I was working in Camden, the police very clearly at the time said, we just don't have the staff or the capacity to deal with all these problems. And so they tried to work with the community to take part in the community policing and take a more active role in their communities. Knowing that, we thought, well, one way to reduce the amount of work that these police have to do would be decriminalizing marijuana. So, that's why we organized in Camden. We wanted people to know about the medical marijuana program. We wanted to point out that there was a disparity when it comes to the cost and making it inaccessible to people. And we wanted to promote the idea of decriminalization so that the police would be free to pursue much larger, important crimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Camden is one of the poorest cities in the country, statistically, and one of the most dangerous, although recently I read that Trenton actually surpassed Camden as one of the most dangerous cities in the country. But you also work in Trenton, too, and you've done some great demonstrations. You were involved in Legalize New Jersey at Mill Hill Park in the State House on 4/20, the national, sort of a national holiday for marijuana reformers. As well as in the City of Brotherly Bud demonstration in Philadelphia. So, and these were very successful. You had a couple of marches in Trenton. In March, you had the Spring Smokeout, and the Mill Hill Park March. So these were very successful marches. There was civil disobedience involved in these marches. There were rallies and speakers and cooperation from the police and local officials. And I think that that's the most important thing. You know, we really gave the message that we're here to educate the public and in a spirit of love and brotherhood, and rather than confrontation. So, you know, I think that that's really great what you're doing, Vanessa, and great work in Trenton.
Thank you. You know, we haven't always had the cooperation of police and public officials, and certainly at times we don't pursue that. You know, sometimes with direct action, you need the element of surprise, and we just kind of show up and do our thing. But I think that the thing that we're known for is not causing any problems, cleaning up after we leave, being respectful of other people and the property. So I think that they have, you know, seen that, you know, even though we're engaging in these type of activities, that we really don't pose any threat or harm to the community. And I think that the folks who have been camped out at the State House every Thursday have really helped, you know, create that image, you know, of our movement. And so I think this relationship building, you know, happens over a long period of time, and they've really observed that, you know, our goal is just to change the laws. And, you know, create a better quality of life for people here in the state of New Jersey. There have been other times in Philadelphia when we're not marching for cannabis, where there has been there has not been cooperation from police and local officials. One of the things that you know, is intersectional to our movement is the movement against police violence and, you know, the murdering of unarmed Black men. And so at many of these rallies and events held all around the country, you've seen people that support the cannabis movement also support this too, because they know that a large percentage of people that are stopped by police, you know, are stopped because of cannabis. And so we've seen a very different reaction from police when it comes to those events, especially when they're led by youth and people of color. And the police have not behaved well. And in those cases, you know, I kind of put my media hat on and try to document those instances and use my camera as a way to hold them accountable and also share information with people. When it comes to the stuff that we're doing, we've been incredibly lucky, and we haven't really seen anything like that happen in the state of New Jersey. So, but there are differences depending on where you live in this country. The police aren't always so respectful.
Yeah. Now, do you typically get permits for these marches and events?
No, I don't believe we need a permit to utilize our First Amendment rights, which is, you know, to gather publicly. And, you know, that's really what we're trying to do, is use these public spaces, you know, the idea of the commons, to gather people and share ideas. And we don't need a permit for that.
But the Smoke Down Prohibition 2.0 in Love Park in July of 2015, there was a rally there at Love Park, and then a march through Center City. I mean, I was there, we marched from to various government official offices through the streets of Philadelphia. We marched around City Hall at rush hour in Philadelphia. I mean, you must have had, I mean, the police were there. There was a huge police presence, but they were just blocking traffic for us and making things comfortable for us. There must have been some significant communication prior to that with the police to have that kind of, we had bicycle police, you had unmarked cars, you had marked cars, you had foot patrolmen. You know, I mean, it was a tremendous police presence, but they were there to facilitate the rally and march, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, me and some of the other organizers, we don't communicate with police typically. We don't feel the need to tell them what we're doing. Other people, such as some of the veterans that participated, and I think because of their background in security and military, they felt like they should communicate with them and let them know what we are doing. So we, you know, we supported them doing that, but that wasn't part of our strategy. And You know, a lot of people know this, you know, I suffered injuries at the hands of the police during Occupy Philly. Their horses ran me over, and my foot was crushed in the process.
Oh, no.
I sued the city of Philadelphia and the police and won a settlement. And so for that reason, you know, I really still don't trust the police because I've seen them, you know, inflict violence upon peaceful protesters. And also when you have your permits and you're not doing anything wrong, they still have gone out of their way to arrest people. So for me personally, I still have a very high level of distrust in Philadelphia. I don't have those same sentiments in Trenton and Camden. And so I think, you know, if you've had mostly good experiences with the police, there is a desire to want to communicate with them and forge a relationship. For me personally, though, you know, my mission is to talk to the people and direct, you know, the participants. And so we all have different roles in this movement, and that's why it's great to have so many people to collaborate with. This particular time, you know, they did support what we were doing, and they left us alone. But if we had done that same thing at the Liberty Bell, we would have had a much different reaction by the Federal Park Police.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just have to really be careful no matter what. I think having an open dialogue is good, but it doesn't always equate into a peaceful demonstration.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, the Federal Park Police at the Liberty Bell, where the original smoke down prohibitions were taking place, were leaving the demonstrations alone, the demonstrators alone, for the first several times. But then they did have a heavy police presence and started to arrest some of the organizers of the smoke down prohibition at the Liberty Bell. For example, Poe and Chris Goldstein and you know, several of the other participants were arrested by the Federal Park Police.
And a young woman by the name of Emily Yates, who is also a veteran, who was trying to do the very same thing that the veterans were doing at Love Park, which was trying to understand what was going on, why they were barricading the area. You know, she served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And, you know, she felt like, I can talk to these people. They're kind of like my peers. And they violently arrested her and seriously injured her. And as a result, she was charged and convicted of assault on a federal officer. So again, you know, and just for being at a marijuana rally that had not even started yet. So, you know, again, I always err on the side of caution and let people know, even if you are not engaging in civil disobedience, you're just a bystander, you still, you know, can get arrested, you know, probably illegally. A lot of these arrests, you know, especially during Occupy Philly, almost all the people arrested on multiple occasions, their arrests were thrown out of court for being illegal. So we know that the police illegally arrest people and they inflict violence. And it doesn't happen all the time, but the risk is still there. In Camden, you know, it was the first time that I actually spoke to the police because they were there and they had a whole bunch of zip ties on their belt, which looked like they were ready to arrest people. And I don't normally like talking to them, but, you know, I went up to them and I said, this is what we're doing. We're having a rally. We're educating people. We want to change this in the law. We have card-carrying medical marijuana patients here. They are going to medicate. And so before you run up to people and arrest them, ask them for their card and treat them with respect. And
well, that's a very important thing. That's a very important concept to communicate to the police, you know, that not everyone is there engaging in civil disobedience, that there are legitimate medical marijuana patients who are using their medicine in full compliance with the laws of the state of New Jersey.
That's right. And so I you know, I talked to them about the Kuma laws, and, you know, they were like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like, we're, you know, and this was right after the riots in Baltimore were happening, you know, just literally like days after that. So in the national media, there was just a lot of really big stories about police violence and rioting. And, you know, I got the sense that these police were a little freaked out because people don't normally protest in Camden. You know, there are not very many demonstrations. And so when we showed up, they were a little bit surprised. But, you know, I talked to them. They were cool. The police, I think he was the captain, he came over and he gave us his cards. And, you know, it made me less fearful of them as well. So them approaching me is equally as beneficial because I automatically assumed you're here to arrest people and hurt them. And if they, you know, say, I want to learn more about what you're doing and here's my card, let's talk about it, that's like an olive branch in my opinion. And they were very respectful, and in fact they dropped off some bottled water to us.
But you're the founder of the East Coast Cannabis Coalition, so tell us a little bit about that, Vanessa, please.
So as I was working in Philadelphia organizing through the Smoke Down Prohibition rallies, we did those rallies every month for a year. We met tons of people. I mean, it really just started with our circle of friends. And then once we put it on the internet and people found out what we were doing, it attracted people from all over the tri-state area. Even people from New York and DC came. And so the more people I met, the more I realized that we should all be working together and sharing ideas and resources. And I didn't believe that some national organizations out there were doing a good job of grassroots organizing. And because of the work that I did in community radio, organizing people from all over the country to work together to pass this legislation, I just applied that same strategy. You know, if we're all in a network together and we're all sharing information, then we can collectively take action. So I formed the East Coast Cannabis Coalition, which is kind of like an informal working group, but we all believe in the same thing, which is that we want people to stop getting arrested for marijuana. We want patients to have access to their medicine, and we want to be able to tap into the green economy. And so we have different maybe strategies that we do locally, as they should. You know, there's different climates in different regions. But I think that it only benefits us to work together at the federal level, since where we are positioned on the East Coast and we're so close to DC, and also to support one another's events, especially in the New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania area where there is so much travel. You know, I go to Delaware and Pennsylvania quite frequently, and I would like to see similar laws in those states, and I'm sure those people would like to as well.
Yeah, many very good activists in Delaware with gets that's Delaware NORML
and the Cannabis Bureau, Delaware.
And the Cannabis Bureau from Delaware, yes, and also, of course, in Philadelphia, you have Philly NORML, and any other groups in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania?
Yeah, there's a group of veterans with Mike Whiter.
Mike Whiter.
It's called Pennsylvania Veterans for Cannabis. There's the Keystone Cannabis Coalition. That's there is the Pittsburgh NORML.
Sure.
Yeah, and New Jersey, there's New Jersey NORML, of course, and then New York, there's Long Island NORML and Empire State NORML. So, you know, we work with all types of people.
So coming up, you have a rally scheduled for October 17th in Trenton. You're going to be doing another one then.
That's correct.
Great.
Kyle and I are working on organizing another rally along with a few other folks from New Jersey, and we hope to draw awareness to two specific things. And one is the medical marijuana bill that is on Christie's desk right now that would allow children who are patients of the medical marijuana program to access their cannabis medicine at school. Right now there are, I believe, 7 children, and they cannot take their medication at school. 2 of these children go to the same school and have epilepsy and have been known to suffer more seizures during school hours. And so obviously the parents are concerned that, you know, they're having seizures during the time when they can't take their medication. These bills were fast-tracked and passed overwhelmingly in both our state assembly and our Senate, but our governor, Chris Christie, is refusing to sign it. And so he hasn't really made any comments about it. He's been on the campaign trail. And even though he's been out of the state, we want to remind him that he has a duty to the citizens of New Jersey, and we want to hold him accountable for this. And so, you know, we're partly doing this to promote that effort and to urge him to sign the bill. These parents have also gone through a court battle. They just lost in the appeals court. They're going to take it to the Supreme Court, I believe. And so again, we want to offer these families our support and let them know that, you know, that we're with them in this fight. One of the things that we did the last time around, I believe in March, is we put all the bills on a big giant poster board, and tons of people took pictures of it and circulated it on the internet. And people literally don't know that these bills exist. They'll say, well, when are you gonna put forth a legalization bill, or what? And I'm like, these bills exist. They are in committees. They are stuck there. If you want them to get out of committee, you must take action. And so that's part of our education too. But in terms of tangible action, those are the two things that we want. We want people that attend the rally and find out about it through the media afterwards to meet with their city councils and urge them to pass the resolution. And we want Chris Christie to sign this bill. And if he already signs it by then you know, certainly we'll be celebrating and then pushing for even more access and freedoms when it comes to cannabis.
Excellent. Well, there's no shortage of work to be done. So
That's
thank
correct.
you so much for your activism and all that you're doing for reform of drug laws here on the entire East Coast, Vanessa. And again, welcome to the board of CMMNJ, and thank you so much for coming to Princeton Community TV studio.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here to use our community media to get our message out. So
and
I encourage folks to utilize this space and create their own messages as well.
As an aging hippie, I just want to say I love your earrings.
Oh, thank you.
For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for cannabis.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for...
Every 42 seconds, someone in this country is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.